Jack, as you all know, is the former chairman and CEO of GE, also the founder of the Jack Welch Management Institute, and it is a real honor to have Jack with us. I'm only going to say a couple more words, I promise, about Jack. But before I do, I would also like to have us welcome at MIT Sloan Jack's wife, Susie Welch, who is also gathered with us. Susie, among many other leadership activities and outcomes, is the author of 10-10-10, A Life Transforming Idea. Susie, it's a great honor to have you with us this afternoon. Good. So, you know, nobody needs the long version of an introduction to Jack Welch. I would, though, like to highlight that this is a wonderful homecoming or welcoming back, if you will, for Jack. Jack has spoken in this Dean's Innovative Leader Series 2 times prior to today. As many of you know, he served as a guest lecturer here in 2006 and 2007 during his time living in Boston. Jack's leadership impact is felt through his written ideas, through the institution that he has created, launched in 2009, the Jack Welch Management Institute, through which young leaders have an opportunity to earn certificates and an MBA online, being exposed to Jack's insights and ideas with respect to management education and management leadership. Jack's impact also is felt through the very large number of leaders, both at GE and at other companies, who have been very powerfully affected in a positive way by being associated with Jack. Today, you get to add yourselves to that list. Please, a warm welcome to Jack Welch.
Thank you.
Jack, 2 words that I would like to suggest people think about when they think about you in management are discipline and passion. And some of the ideas that you're associated with respect to discipline, the discipline of market leadership, the discipline with respect to managing human capital, are the stuff of legend at this point. If I could start with market leadership as one of those elements of discipline. So you've been associated with the benefits of being number 1 or number 2 in a market. If you look at some recent history, we've seen a number of number 1 and number 2 firms, maybe falling asleep in that leadership position. And I wonder if there are some thoughts that you have about the risks as well as the benefits of being in that number 1 or new position or number 2 position. Leaders love being in a leadership position, but what are some of the risks?
Well, clearly complacency, arrogance. You know, the fine line between self-confidence and arrogance is this thin. So one gets in a position of knowing it all, having been successful, this is how we do it. The only way to break that is to make sure that everybody in your place comes to work every day trying to find a better way. You have to absolutely look inside, outside, know that somebody's doing it better than you. And you've got to drive that into every person in your organization. There is a better way of doing this, damn it. Find it. You might be number 1, but you're only not number 1 for the moment the snapshot is there. And somebody's always shooting at you. And so this is a drive that people have to come to. The idea of NIH, not invented here, resides in number 1 companies. I mean, you've seen them all, from automotive to steel to high-tech companies who have not been able to maintain their positions because of not invented here. Never let yourselves, most importantly, ever get to the point where you think you know it all. Know that somebody's doing it better than you every day. And damn it, get out and find it. And read about it, and learn about it, and chase it. So that you're always getting better.
Yeah.
Well, MIT and Harvard run the same issue, but you probably got some faculty here that are sort of sacked out into a leadership position.
I don't see any hands. It's a risk, right? It's a real risk.
And you have tenure.
Yeah.
You're dealing with tenure. That makes it harder.
It can make it a challenge. But you know, this is supposed to be about you, not about me. Can I ask you, though, to talk about a sense of mission or worthwhile purpose in an organization? Because I will say, whether you got tenure, whether you've got other kind of long-term contracts that limit your ability, that motivating people in the short term and to see that there's something worthwhile that they're headed toward. I mean, that's huge for educational institutions like the one you're managing. It's huge in any business.
Yes, and I think the whole idea of running a business, we talked about this. I had a small group of students before we got here a little bit, and we were chatting about the idea that your job in a company is to create excitement, great jobs, bigger future, more fun, work is fun, make lives better, create more jobs, and not have people hanging on. Your job is to every day, and never be a bore. You know, if you're a boss of a few people pretty soon, be sure you never become a bore. Slap yourself in the face the day you become a bore. Excite people, get them turned on, and drive towards a better life for everybody. So somebody was asking me in the last class about social responsibility, and you know, how do we take care of America versus how do we take care of American interests in a global economy, take care of jobs here and all that. I said, your obligation is to win. Your obligation is to have your company win. Don't give me this social responsibility stuff. Your social responsibility is to win. When you win and you have resources and you have money, you can have social responsibility. You can give back. A busted company can't do that. GE had 55,000 mentors and mentoring kids all over the world, from Indonesia to Schenectady, New York. GM had none when they were going down the drain. None. People were holding on to their jobs. So the idea of giving back only comes from success. It doesn't come out of some altruistic view that you give back and then sink the company. That is not a very good strategy. I recommend dumping that one. So this idea of your social responsibility, your every responsibility is to win. And I want you to feel that, because when you win, people get jobs, they get better jobs, better lives, more exciting work. Work is not mundane and dull. And that's what you got to never have a dull place.
Yeah. Can a company like Ford or GM, can they win?
Yeah, I think Ford today is winning. You know, GM is government motors. So they have a different problem. I mean, the union owns part of it, the health care plan. I hate that whole program, so I don't want to talk about it. And I know he was here and gave a very good presentation earlier in the year, and he's got a tough job. But he's basically running a socialistic business.
He described it differently when he was here.
Well, his leader is running a socialistic business.
Understood. But Ford is doing okay.
Yeah, and Ford did it themselves. They went out and leveraged the company. They borrowed. Yeah. They took a big risk. They went to the hilt. They got their own money, and they did the job. Yeah.
So if I try to put you on the spot, are there companies that you worry might be going to sleep in a leadership position? Or if you want, you could turn it around and...
No, I talked a little bit about Google today in our other session. Here's Google. They now have, how many people here are going to go to work for Google? I don't want to screw you up before you get there. Yeah, in our other group we had a couple. The point is, every hot company in Silicon Valley has a new management technique. 30 years ago was Microsoft. And they had dream days, you know, take a day off, think and dream. Now Google has 20% of your time thinking and dreaming. Microsoft never was able to dream enough to get off the PC and Windows. Google's challenge is, can they take this enormous search engine success and the cash it's leveraged and deliver new products and new businesses from that? I don't know the answer to that, but I know that dreaming won't last for a long time. I know that this day off to dream is killed by competition, is killed by better products, better values being provided elsewhere. And every one of these companies, whether it be Apple, when it had its run with Mac, sunk, and then Steve Jobs came back and did one of the great jobs in history to bring the company back. But those moments are rare. When you've got the new idea, you're out there early. Now today, Netflix is under all kinds of pressure. They were the hot guy a month or two ago, and now everyone's after that space. So these spaces don't last that long, even with dominant positions. And the new fads in management, days to dream, generally go into the rubbish bin after a period of time.
Yeah. Another company that I know you've thought about a little bit is AT&T. So that's a company that you might say is in a kind of leadership position, trying to make a big change with the acquisition, proposed acquisition of T-Mobile. Would that be an example, do you think, of someone not going to sleep and trying to change?
Well, they're trying like how
change
to
the
stay
game?
alive and stay in front, ahead of the curve.
Yeah.
Verizon is coming after them with Fios and other things. And will that be the way things are distributed?
Yeah.
Will a network look like that? You know, the games that they're playing are changing so fast that, you know, Verizon spent billions of dollars putting wires in the ground to get to homes. That may not be the greatest return on investment known to man in time. We'll have to see. I hate fast-moving high tech. No, I just
Some of
don't.
our students kind of like it. But,
No, of course they do, and they should. But as an investor, I'm an investor now, and I am in private equity. I like businesses that you can see, predict, and U.S. food service. Do you ever see their trucks running around town? Or Cisco trucks running around town? We own those. We own $30 billion food company. People have to eat. The truck delivers it. They're not going to get the food any other way. There's not another fast way to change the game. Love it. Cash coming at you. Cash coming at you all the time. Now, that's private equity. That's a different business. But it's a wonderful game to play. You're not on the edge of your seat. Now, if I'm a young, high-tech engineer, I want to be in the middle of the fastest-paced game in town, and I want to have the fastest widget. But that's a different game.
yeah. We haven't cracked online food delivery quite yet. But,
Oh, they've tried.
well, yeah, I know. So you were talking about winning. Some companies, many companies, have gone through a pretty tough few years, pretty challenging few years. Do you think differently about managing in tough times?
Well, I think the challenge in every company is the short and long challenge. It happens when times are good. It happens when times are bad. In times are bad, it really comes to the forefront. The only reason you're ever appointed a manager is to balance that short and long. That is your challenge, the trade-offs of short and long. Now, in a tough environment where there's very little money to be had and the company's fighting to survive, the long gets the short shrift of things in that debate. And so you've got to have the strength and the wisdom and the guts to invest for the long term more selectively, but still do it. And a company's challenge in a recession like we had, that terrible recession, is to come out stronger than they went in. That is the challenge. It's got to be in front of everybody every day. So the vision has to be in front of all the employees. We're going through hell right now. It's awful. Now, you've got to be able, as a manager, to not just tell them how awful it is and how they got to struggle and fight and save pencils and erasers. You've got to tell them what they're going to look like on the other side. What when the sun comes out, they're going to look like. And you've got to explain to everybody what's in it for them. These jackass CEOs come in, get these jobs, and in fact, jackass middle managers come in. We got to change. I got a new job. We got to change. What do you mean change? I don't want to change. You want to change. Why change? Why change? Why am I changing? You're changing because it's good for them. So remember, every time you put a change initiative, whether at MIT or whether you're somewhere else, explain to the people that are going through the change what's in it for them. Everybody talks about why we're changing, this and that, but they never take the time to explain, look people right in the eye and say, here's what's in it for you. Better jobs, more job security, longer term growth, better life, all these things. Say that why, when you're going through it. Make the case why the change is necessary. That is the missing link in every one of these change initiatives. For example, the last president, he became president because we're going to change everything. But he never really explained what we were going to change to. And we're now confused. The country's confused a bit. And his momentum is slowed a bit because we don't have what was in it for the people to go through the change. Change is a word that's a frightening word to most people. And unless you explain to them why they should do it and what they'll get out of it long term, you're just barking up the wrong tree.
Yeah. How do you feel looking ahead about companies' ability to control their own futures? There's a lot of concern about the role of government, the role of non-government organizations. Are you optimistic about that ability of that manager to say, we're going to go in this direction, we're going to get to the finish line, and if you do a great job, you'll still be there with me. How well do you feel companies control that now?
Except for isolated instances like this crazy Boeing thing that just took place. Yeah. If you get away from that and you go to most companies, you control your own destiny. You've got the capital, you've got the cash, you've got the people. If you're building the right team, the team that'll take you through it, if you've got the rigor in your personality to be sure that you don't take sluggos with you, but you get great players all the time. You're fighting to build a better team every day. You can go through anything. You can go through government changes. You can go through this and that, recessions and everything else, if you got the right team. But getting the right team is a big job. You don't get it by, willing it, wishing it. You get it by fighting every day with appraisals, with rigorous looks at people. No manager in the world can ever be called a manager and have people in the place that don't know where they stand. So if you're a manager in this room and you've got a little group of 6 people or 8 people or 10 people, and they don't know every day where they stand with you and where they are in their career path and what's going to happen to them, you don't deserve to be called a manager. Your job is to make sure everybody gets their role, where they're going, and how they're going to get there. And you've got to deliver that. And the manager who doesn't do that, who doesn't confront these challenges, will end up being whipsawed by whatever happens, government, technology change, or anything else.
So that reminds me of, another of the famous, the 20-70-10.
Yeah. It took 15 minutes.
Wait, to get to that. You always get there. Can you say, you talked about it a little bit just now.
He's talking about differentiation.
Say a little bit more?
Yeah. Nothing is more controversial that I ever did than differentiation. Some people hate it, picking out who the best 20 are, the middle 70, the bottom 10. Now, that's just a range. You can have the best, the middle, and the worst. So you pick your numbers, 5, 10, 15, whatever they are. Now, the Red Sox have no problem with that. The Patriots have no problem with that. The Celtics have no problem with that. High school students have no problem with that. College students have no problem with that. Why, when you become 23 years old and go to work, it's criminal to tell people that they're good and bad, that they're an A student or a D student. why is it? Why is it that people say, I can't differentiate. I don't want to tell somebody they're not delivering. They've got a wife, they've got a husband, and they've got children, and they've got a family. I'm too kind a manager. Let me tell you what you are. You're a coward. You're not too kind. What are you going to do? Keep them until they're 45 years old, bumping along, and then when 45-year-olds, they're 45, 2008 comes along, 2009 comes along, and your boss says, we've got to get rid of 20% of the costs here. And you walk down the hall and you say, Paul, I'm sorry, Paul, but you've got to go home. And Paul says, why me? Well, Paul, you're really not very good. And Paul says, but I've been here 25 years. Why didn't you ever tell me? That's cruel. That's what cruelty is. Taking somebody in that mid-career and chucking them out in the street for the first time, giving them a candid appraisal because all things went to hell. You got to be appraising people every quarter. They got to know where they stand. They got to have a sheet of paper that says, here's what I like about what you're doing, and here's what you can do to improve. So you have a little sheet of paper with your handwritten notes on it. And they know all the time where they stand. So they're never in there worrying, saying, oh, I don't know if the boss likes me. I don't know what's going to happen in my career, where I'm going. Then that's out of the question. They know where they are. They're focusing on work, on getting it done, on winning. So that, I mean, to me, there's no other way to manage. There's no other way to manage than to differentiate, pay the best tons. Don't give them a plaque, give them money. Pay them as much as you can. Don't pay the bottom. Don't confuse them with a 3% or 5% raise. Don't confuse them. That just muddles it up. Take care of that middle and make sure that middle knows what they have to do to get to be the top, because the middle is valuable as hell. But don't be afraid to tell people where they stand. It's almost criminal. And it is, without question, in corporations, their biggest sin. You can go around to any corporation and people, oh, we don't have an appraisal. We have an appraisal system. Yeah, but it's a phony. It's run by HR. They just check the boxes. That sort of stuff. If you're not in a company that's evaluating you all the time, telling you your strengths and your weaknesses and how you can improve, you're in the wrong company. You want to be told that. You want to learn. You want to learn every day. You want rigor in everything about the company, about its processes. It's about its human resource processes, about how it works. You don't want any soft stuff.
Do you think if you do that, it helps prevent hard-working people from burning out?
The idea of burnout is a theoretical, psychological.
I'm letting you say what you want to say.
It's a fuzzy thing. I mean, workout is if you got a crappy job and your workout is standing at a lathe for 10 hours grinding out the same thing. Yeah. That, I think, is really flaming out. If you've got an exciting job with people like this in this room are all capable of having, your job is to get them an exciting job that they're turned on every minute they're there, wanting more responsibility, change more games, create more better lives for more people. That's what they want to do. Burnout comes from routine, mundane, rote work, not from exciting, winning. Just take one picture. The winning locker room and the losing locker room. Take the picture. Where would you rather be? Hanging your head with a towel over your head and your head down, or with champagne being poured over your head and having a hell of a party for the victory? That's what you want to be in every day. You want to be creating that atmosphere. That's your job, to create this exciting atmosphere for your people in these places. Not these crappy, rote, mundane jobs.
Yes. People ask for your advice in companies that focus on different parts of the world. Do you think what people need to know or focus on in managing great companies? Is it all different in different parts of the world, or
It's a great question.
or do you customize,
I
do you
think-
not customize?
Oh, I think you customize. I think there's a throttle. I mean, everything you do here, you can do 120% in Germany in terms of throttle. Everything you do here, you can do it 50% in Thailand in terms of throttle, sensitivity, culture, etc. So, I mean, each one of these things has a different rhythm and pace to it in each country. I think it's a perfect question. You can't insult a German. They're not insultable, if that's a word. If that's a word. I mean, we have lots of German factories, lots of German facilities. They come at you like a roaring bull. That's part of life. In Thailand, people are more laid back, more sensitive, more courteous, a lot of things. So each one of these things is different. It's the throttle. But the technique is the same. You want to build the best team. You want passion in your leaders. You want them to care about their people. You want them to grow people. You want them to be excited. You want them to feel winning in their blood. You want them to care for you. That's what you want. You want it in every culture. China doesn't have that, for example. They don't have it. The boss is the king. He doesn't give a damn about anything except getting the product out. And we've got a zillion factories in all the companies I'm with in China. And to get the boss to care about the people is a brutal project.
In just a couple minutes, I want to let our students have their chance to ask you some questions. Before we turn to that, can I ask you to say a few words about the Jack Welch Management Institute and what, you're at a point in your life when you could, collect art full time. There are a lot of things you could be doing.
That doesn't turn me on.
Yes. So what is it about, right. So this is about, right.
I got it. Susie,
Very good.
you usually does that for me.
Moving on quickly. This is, my perception is this is about legacy for you, about wanting to make a difference.
I believe that we have, and Susie's codified it a lot, Winning. She wrote the book Winning that became an enormous bestseller around the world. We have defined a management style that works. I've seen it now in all my private equity companies. I've seen it in the companies I consult for. We have a code of management that creates winning companies. And winning companies are at the heart of what I've been talking about here for a long time this morning. And I believe that's good for society. It's good for everybody involved in the company. So I taught here with 35 students in the class, I believe. I was here for 3 years, I think 4 years actually, through 2008 and the recession and everything else. And I loved it. I loved the kids in the class. I loved every minute I was there. I could barely wait to come over on Thursday nights. It was really something. And we became friends. But there was only 35 or 36 of us. And I said, and then we teach this course, Susie and I teach a course for CEOs. We have 100 CEOs every year come in 2 days with Jack Welch, and we teach them how to lead their companies. But there's only 100 of them. Online, I think we can get to thousands and thousands of them with this technology and this stuff. And that's what it's all about. It's all about trying to transfer this knowledge to lots and lots of people. And we're now going to certificates, where we get certificates for new manager courses, for all these courses, where people can come in 6 weeks, learn how to be a manager, learn how to be a new manager. Now, they won't learn disruptive technologies that you learn here. They won't learn some of the sophisticated tools you have here. But they'll learn how to hire, fire, motivate, build teams, grow. They'll learn what they do every day. They'll learn what goes on every day in their job, and they'll be better at it. We're seeing it happen now. So the feedback they're getting from their bosses is incredible. They're better at appraisals. They're better at building teams. They're better at all that stuff. So that's what we're doing. We're building this, I don't want to call it a trade school, but it's a management school of how to run a business. And it's exciting as hell to see them and their success. People are sending us emails. They got a raise of 40% in the last 6 months because of what they pulled off from the stuff they were doing. That's a turn on. That's right in the veins.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, it is. And I love seeing it. I love seeing it. And we're going to have thousands and thousands of kids in this institute taken. They can't afford to take off and come to school here for 2 years. They can't afford to do any of those things. But they can keep their job, work like hell, nights and weekends, and have an MBA and have a better. As much as an MBA, they'll have a knowledge of how to do things, how to run their businesses, and it's a very exciting time for me to do that.
Yeah.
I love it. I mean, it turns me on. And every week I send them a disc of what's new in business this week. For example, I predicted, rightly or wrongly, that AT&T will not be able to pull off the Deutsche Telekom deal. Why the Herfindahl Index and all these other things that are involved. I may be wrong, but I'm telling them. And then I talk about what the hurdles will be in any acquisition like that. And we talk about an acquisition, the integration. So we spend some time discussing with them what that acquisition means. We had probably the most popular one we ever had. Now, most of you probably won't follow this one, but there was almost a no-hitter by a Cleveland pitcher last year. A guy named Gallagher was the pitcher. And he went to the last inning. And in the last inning, Detroit player hit a ball on the ground. And they threw to first. And the umpire called the fellow safe. And he was clearly out by a full step. And the umpire that night, and the crowd went crazy, the umpire was booed. The umpire the next day came out and said, I blew it for that kid. I ruined a no-hitter for this kid, Gallagher. We gave that as our lecture for the week. What does it mean? It means that when you make a mistake, you own up to it. When you're in a company, people make mistakes and they hide. Jesus, I don't want to admit that. They hire a turkey. And they don't want to admit they hired the turkey because they don't want their boss to know they're a bad hirer. Or they make a mistake and they want to hide it. The next day, that umpire was cheered by 40,000 people in Briggs Stadium. The umpire became a national hero on Today's Show, Good Morning America, all these shows, for telling what happened. He made a mistake. That's what you have to do at work. In your work, it's okay to make a mistake. As long as if you don't make a mistake, you're not doing anything. I hate to admit how many I have, and mine are up to here. You make mistakes when you're doing things. You don't make mistakes sitting on your butt and hiding. And that's a lesson to be learned. And that was by far the most popular video we sent out, discussing that principle, because I have seen more people make a bad hire and then be afraid to admit it and have to eat it themselves and carry the lug along. It's tough stuff. You'll be rewarded for coming clean.
If I can just make the smallest of sales pitches, it's easier for me to do this than for you. One of the things I love about that website is Jack doing what he did here at MIT Sloan. Take a headline of the week, talk about it, and then use it as a vein to mine some of the deeper issues, points of knowledge about management practice. It's a good place to go visit.
Thanks.
Still come to MIT Sloan and tell all your friends for MBA degrees. But I like that. Jack, before we ask for questions, are there any kind of thoughts for people looking ahead to careers that you'd like to share? You've done a lot of that already.
No, and we'll have something at the end, probably, when we hear some questions from what's on their mind.
Great. Super. Are there any people with questions?
There's one up there.
Can we get a microphone to those folks?
So CEOs have sort of a portfolio of projects that they can work on that I think enable them to take a lot of risks. the managers who have to execute on those projects don't necessarily have that portfolio. And I think that causes them many times to take sort of the safer path instead of going after the risky projects. As the CEO, how do you encourage those managers to pursue those risks, and how do you deal with the failures that are going to result along the way?
That's a great question. And the basic thing you have to do in leadership, if you're at a very high level, is role model manager. Role model management is without question the key to driving behaviors. So, for example, you have somebody, and you're right, the CEO can play with all kinds of sandboxes. It's really good fun. You can try this one, try that one. If it doesn't work, no one's for the worse. Well, somebody else, the career might be a killer. So what you do when somebody takes a swing and they miss, you go to all kinds of lengths to make them heroes. You bring them up, you exaggerate the try they made, you bring them to company meetings, you talk about what the pitfalls were that they overcame and some they didn't and why it finally failed. But you don't punish. You never punish. If your goal is to get any type of behavior, it's like, for example, the exchange of ideas across businesses. When somebody gets an idea at Walmart and brings it back to your company on customer service or something else, you make a glorious hero out of that person. If you want ideas transferred, if you want to look outside the company, same thing you do with entrepreneurship. You take those examples, and you take examples of successes and failures, and you brag about them. And you never punish for taking a swing. But role model management is the key to getting the behaviors you want. If you want certain behaviors and you see them, you raise the flag, you get a band, you do anything to make that behavior have the spotlight on them. Yes? If anybody doesn't like the answer, fire back.
My name is Jason Thomas from the United States. Thank you for coming today. I was wondering if you could share some of your comments on the financial crisis and the recession and the leadership failures that led to that, and perhaps qualify your philosophy on winning. In other words, were the CEOs of Bear Stearns, Lehman, AIG, were they winning? Thank you.
Well, look, I mean, there's no question that there are more people on, as we wrote a column about, the Orient Express. There were more suspects in this crisis than you can possibly list. There were the mortgage bankers. There were the people taking out mortgages on houses they couldn't afford. There were investment bankers packaging bad stuff. There were rating agencies that stunk. There was a total breakdown in the ecosystem of the financial system. And to pick one or the other or the CEO, none of those guys felt they were doing something crazy. They felt they were doing okay at Bear Stearns. They were going further out the risk curve. When you go out that risk curve, you can get your legs chopped off. We're in this point now where money is free. Money now for the last, 30 months is free. With free money, I don't know what the trouble's going to be. I can't predict it for you. Some smart person in economics at MIT department can tell you what it'll be. But something's going to blow here and blow big, because you can't have free money and risk-taking all in the same culture and not expect a blowout. So we had a crazy situation going there. And I don't think there was any one malicious person. There were a series of bad steps by a lot of bad, in a lot of bad situations that went on. I wouldn't pick some people want to hang Greenspan now for that. I don't buy that. He was trying to manage an economy. Bernanke's now on the kick that we're not going to raise interest rates. We're going to have QE2 finish. And QE2 just puts more money in the system and more money in the system, and there's no risk. I don't know the answer, but I know this ain't the way to run a railroad, but I don't know the answer as to what's going to blow. These things blow when there's free money. Yep.
Thanks, Jack, for coming over. So I had a question about things that you talked about. As a CEO, when you're in a position of power, you can implement those things. But as we leave school and go out in the market as a first job, the tendency is to blend in. Tendency is not to rock the boat. Tendency is not to challenge the practices that have been there.
Yuck, yuck. Why the hell did you come here then? Why did you go here and spend 2 years? You got a badge on your forehead now when you come out of here. I come out of the greatest business school in the world. I got a credential on my forehead. I'm a star. Now, I'm not a horse's ass, but I'm a star. And I'm smart, and I'm considerate of my teammates, but I want to make things happen here. That's why I'm here. That's why I went to this school. That's why I differentiated myself. I want to differentiate myself in the company, too. I don't want to go along here. I mean, I quit the first year I was in GE because I got the same raise as the guy in the next office to me. I hated it. I hated to be part of the system. You got to get out of the pile. The only way to get out of the pile is to take risks and not go along. The pile is huge. Your job is to get the hell out of the pile. Don't let them put you in the pile. Don't drive into the parking lot and park, and there's a row of cars a mile long, and you're just another car there. Jesus, I hate that. You want to get up front in the parking lot. And you got to think about doing things to change the game. Don't be a grunt. Grunts go along. So I hate the whole premise of the question. But I like you.
A couple questions up there.
Hope you like mine a little better. You have a lot of successful alums out running major corporations today. 10 years ago when you were doing your succession planning, what made Jeff Immelt stand out above that crowd of people that have obviously gone on to be very successful? And with 10 years of hindsight, how do you feel about the choice?
Well, look, there's one thing I don't talk about. I was retired 10 years ago, and I don't go back to GE about that at all. Jeff Immelt was a bright, capable guy with lots of very successful track record. And in our judgment, he was the best of the crowd we had. Others have gone on to great records, and we're proud of them. We love their success. Jeff's fought through some tough times in this economy. Financial services turned on him a bit, and he had some problems. But we're more than happy with our choice at the time, and we're happy with it today. And more importantly, we're thrilled with McNerney's job at Boeing and all the 35 CEOs that work for us in that crowd that are not now out running companies. So, you know, it's tough to talk about your success. I mean, it's a different game. What do you think about Schmalensee?
Well, you know, see, Professor Schmalensee is still on the faculty here with tenure. There's a point of difference in these things.
Yeah. You know what I'm saying.
I do know what you're saying, and it's well said. It's well said. Actually, at MIT, I have 4 former deans who are on my faculty keeping an eye on me. So it's
as long as they don't get together.
They do. There's a question up in the back here.
Thank you. In GE, a lot of people have said that it's basically you create an environment to create general managers, adapt at the various different industries. We've also spoken to leaders and CEOs who have said, stick to your knitting. In plotting our careers going forward, I mean, what are your thoughts on go deep one particular industry, or should we really try and get exposure to as many different types of businesses as possible?
I don't think you should plot. I don't think plotting a career works. I think getting to do something you love and over-delivering every day on the job you're in is the route to the top. And the idea of, and there's a lot of luck involved, a lot of good things have to break your way, but in the end, doing something that turns you on, that you love being there, you love being in the office, you love your associates, you love the team, you got similar value systems. That's what you want. And plotting whether you go vertical, one industry, and know it cold, or be a general manager as a generalist. That'll all come. That'll happen naturally. There is no, I've never seen anybody win with a career plan. I've seen people win with a passion for doing well, for being excited, for being turned on, and enjoying the hell out of their work. That might be worth a controversy. I mean, do you have any comments on that?
You know, I actually, not so much a comment because I'm not in the comment business today, but a follow-up question. How do you know when it's time to leave?
When you're not enjoying the hell out of the job, it's a great question, moving forward. I was interviewing for jobs right up to the moment I became vice chairman. I never stopped looking for a better job. And I was busting my pick in the company, but making sure I always had options. You never want to be a victim. You never want to be caught in a spot where you're moaning about your boss. I mean, it's the worst thing in the world. To go home and kick the dog, kick the cat, punch the wall. That stinks in life. You always want options. You always want to have yourself with another game. If this game ain't working, get out. Fighting a bureaucracy that's not responding to you is a hopeless game. And people like to say to me, how do I change that? We get this question all the time on the road. I'm a first-level manager. How do I change the company? I don't like what it's doing. I said, you don't. You got to get a better job before you change the company. So if the company's not rewarding you and you don't feel good about it, and you don't like your boss, you don't like your environment, get out. Getting out today is now a very positive thing. You can get 5 jobs by the time you're 35, 6 jobs. And until you get the right one, it's no longer. It used to be a scarlet letter if you're a job jumper. It isn't that today. So you get yourself in a place where you love it, where you like where you're going, you like the way they're treating you, like the evaluation, you like the growth, you like the career path, you like your associates, and you're happy as hell, and the dog's not getting kicked.
Yeah. Oh, well, however. Sure, that's fine.
Hello. I have stutter, and you being up there obviously inspires the heck out of me. And this is a thing about overcoming obstacles. How did you handle that, being the CEO of one of the biggest companies in the world?
I have the same one you have. And look, my mother told me when I was young that the reason I stammered was that my brain worked so much faster than my tongue. And I believed her. And obviously you have too. You believed your mother or somebody, because you're here, you're doing well. God bless you. I mean, we all got our crosses to bear. I'm not 6'4" with hair, and yet I still stammer. You know, I mean. I am 6'4" with hair. You got a better chance.
That's very nice.
You got a better chance. I'd bet on you. Yes.
My question is about management education. When it comes to modern
Can you
business,
wait for the mic so that these guys can hear? Thank you.
Jack, my question is about management education. When it comes to modern business schools today, what do you think they do well, and where do you think they fall short in terms of developing managers and leaders?
Well, I would argue, and I was across the water yesterday over the other side of the river, having a chat with a group like this, and my argument is that there's not enough, and I may be wrong, but there's not enough of the hire, fire, motivate, what you do every day. There's a lot of very good theoretical stuff. There's a lot of good disruptive technology courses. There's a lot of courses on this and that, and the next thing there's some great finance courses, and you need all that stuff. But there's nowhere near enough, and the professors generally that teach that stuff are not at the top of the totem pole. the strategy professor gets the bigger office and the nicer game, and the poor grunt that's teaching all organizational stuff that's real, sort of looked at as a sort of a worker bee in the school. I may be overstating my case, but I always do that. So I think that particular aspect of managing, how you go to and do it every day, could be more focused here. Differentiation could be argued and debated and done and not done, and you could be differentiating each other's classes and evaluating each other. Do you do that now? Okay, so I mean, I'll bet every one of you in your classrooms can write a differentiation graph and put names on it for the people in your class. Every one of you could do it. You see them, you watch them for 4 months, 5 months, and you could do it. Why not? And then why not sit down with them and tell them why you evaluate them that way, and then have them work it out. I think that's good stuff. I think that's what you're going to have to do when you get out and work. So why should you not do that? So, you know, business schools do a lot of great things. It's just not enough, in my mind, of that one element of motivation, driving, compensating, exciting people. See, I happen to believe the whole game is about people. I don't believe it's about spreadsheets. I believe it's all about people. I believe it to my toes. I believe it more now than ever. We get a company we buy in private equity that's got a bunch of sleepy managers, and we flush them out, bring in talent, pay them a ton of dough, give them a big upside to win. They blow it out of the water. The same company was sitting there for 10 years doing nothing. It's so easy to knock off these companies and bring in talent and change the game. So if that's true in these companies, then it's true in the companies you're going to show up in. Although, you know, most of you are picking great companies to start with here. You have such an advantage. You're not dealing with, when the people come in interview, you're dealing with great companies. So you've got a leg up, generally speaking, by coming here. Yes, anybody just jump up. Hands won't work.
All right, so the one hand here, and
so when studies have demonstrated that when it comes to a non-purely mechanical job, like an intellectual job, or like one of the manager's job, if you want, money is not as good as an incentive as actually a purpose is. What do you think?
As what?
As actually a purpose is. What do you think?
Well, I like a little of both. Don't tell me all about purpose until I get some dough. I think they're both valid. I mean, there's no weighing this. I mean, you don't want to be in a job for money or no purpose. Otherwise, you'd all end up on Wall Street.
we need, as you know, we need to be respectful of folks who have class at 1 o'clock. So maybe we do one more question,
Good,
and
fine.
You could wrap it up. And okay, there's one of those folks there. How's that?
Hi, my name is Angeline. I just want to ask you, people always say that it's lonely on top. Who do you actually get support from, and who do you actually talk to when it's
lonely? That's the craziest bunch of junk in the world. Everyone wants to hang out with you. Everyone wants to be your friend. You can have as many as you want. And all of a sudden, your jokes are funny. Everything you do is very good. It's a nice program. So it's not, that lonely stuff is silliness. I mean, I vacationed with my team. We went away together. We hung out there. We probably broke some of these rules that you've been reading. But we were friends. And then when we weren't, and one of us wasn't delivering, they had to go. And they knew it because they knew where they stood. And they'd walk into my office and they'd say, "What's the deal?" And we had been on a vacation 6 months before together. It's okay if you're all candid and out there open with each other. You don't have to have this remote relationship. Why would you want to work and be lonely? You want to work and hang around with friends, drink beer with them, go to ball games, do other stuff. So I think that's a lot of nonsense. Lonely, not your question, the idea. Look, I think, we're going to wrap up, but I think the challenge for all of you is, and the question of purpose and money is important. You do want both. You want both. And the idea of what you want to do is you want to create a vision for yourself, for your company, for your job, for your unit. Each of you has that job to come up with one. A vision of where you're going to take, when you go to your new job, what's going to happen to it. And then that vision has got to be coupled with an enormous passion for driving it forward, caring about it, caring about how to get it there, how to get the people there if you happen to be managing a small group, how to turn them on, how to get them to create that vision. And then the third thing is you're going to have to communicate that vision and that passion every day. Don't say it once. Because you said it doesn't mean they heard it. You can't repeat yourself enough to yourself about your own vision and to your people about where you're going. Remember, this is you got the greatest opportunity in the world. You've gone to the greatest school going. You got the best education you could possibly have. Never. What did you say now? Say it again. Get up and say it.
Well, I don't think I'm ever going to say accept the status quo anymore.
Yeah, don't get along, don't go along, don't be always fighting that. Go out there and make a statement and create the dream that you always wanted. Your dreams can be as big as your eyes can make them. Go for it. Thanks a lot.